You are listening to the Mayday Network.
This is our inaugural first episode of Touchgrass, and I think we need a break. And that's what we're doing. It's Wednesday, it's middle of the week. Lots of crazy shit's been happening. We need a break. I am here with my wonderful co-hosts, Michelle Kinney and Frederic Poag, and I'm Julie Roginsky, and we are here to take some time out of our insane lives to just touch grass. So, you guys, we need it because it's been a crazy week. We don't need to belabor that. We've got other shows where we belabor that. Frederic,
yes.
Tell us, what kind of crazy dating escapades did you go on this weekend, if any?
You know what? So here's the thing. I did not have any crazy dating escapades this weekend, but last night I have broken the streak of I went on a dating app for the first time.
Oh, which one?
You've never done this before? Hey,
I've done it, but it's been like years. I mean, it's been. I think the last time was, I want to say, the Obama administration.
Oh my God!
Wow,
I didn't know that they existed then. Did they?
They did. Yeah. They've been around for a while. Like I remember, let me pull out the banjo and get my whittling stick. Back when I was on the OK Cupid, and you could just send a woman the message now. But no, I tried Hinge, and wanted to see what it was all about.
Is that the one where the woman has to reach out to you first?
That's Bumble.
Bumble.
So I've done Bumble before, way back in the day.
Okay.
And so I tried Hinge. I guess you're supposed to build, like, you got to like each other and all this other stuff. And it's like they got these prompts where they had like these questions of, oh yeah. So here was an interesting question. It was 2 truths and a lie. And I was like, oh, and you can record, your response. And so of course I had to deepen it just a little bit, It's just like, I mean, you can't just come out the gate like, well, guys, here's what I did. 2 truths and a lie, It's
so
like,
what did you do? Oh, this is actually good. This is good gossip. What'd you do? What were you doing?
So my 2 truths and a lie are this.
Yes?
And here's some. Okay.
Okay.
So 2 truths and a lie. I've never been married.
Okay.
I've lived above the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
I've worked for the biggest YouTuber in the world.
You've never lived above the Arctic
No,
Circle?
I've never been married. I've lived above the Arctic Circle. I have worked for the biggest YouTuber in the world.
Okay. I know the answer. I know you have been married.
Yeah.
I have. Oh, well, have I?
You have.
Lie, truth.
No. I would say truth, lie, truth.
So which do you think is a lie, Julie?
Above the Arctic Circle.
So you think that one's the lie? Because I said I've never been married, right? Never. I've never been married. I've lived above the Arctic Circle, and I've worked for the biggest YouTuber in the world.
You have been married. You have been married, though, and I know that you work for the biggest YouTuber in the world.
I said never been married. So if you know that I have, that would be the lie.
Well, that would be the lie. That would be the lie.
Right. It's 2 truths and a lie. So okay, for the audience, yes, I have been married. That's the lie. I have lived above the Arctic Circle because when I was 2 years old, my dad ran the weather station at Point Barrow, Alaska. And we were technically above the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
And Point Barrow. And I have worked for the biggest YouTuber in the world.
You work for Mr. Beast, who I had no idea who he was until my son came along. And
he's like, oh my God.
Oh my God, obsessed. I have to get literally I had to order something called Mr. Beast burgers. There's some sort of Mr. Beast, like Feastables. He comes home.
There's Feastables. There's
He
Feastables.
he doesn't even like Reese's peanut butter cups. He does not like chocolate or peanut butter. Yet I had to go buy this Reese's peanut butter cup knockoff. He's like, isn't this better than Reese's peanut butter cups? I'm like, you've never even had a Reese's peanut butter cup. So I'll just say this. But yes, they were delicious. And the Beast burgers are pretty good too. So I know you worked for Mr. Beast.
I did. You makes
you the coolest person according to my son, that I probably would
I feel bad that I don't even know who that is.
because you're
I
not
didn't know who he was when I went to work for him. I had to do research for a couple days.
It's so weird how fame has changed. Like
It is.
the fame in the world, I guess the world, not just the United States, has like really changed because when I'm out, I have recognized people that I know from online.
Mhm.
And it's different. It's like I always wonder if people feel more approachable that way because we're in each other's phones or something like that. And then like if I ran into like Jennifer Lawrence or something on the street, like I wouldn't approach her. But if I ran into somebody that I know online or from Instagram or TikTok or something, I would go say hello. And it's an interesting development in how we connect with like famous people or what we think are famous people, right?
It's
Oh
also
yeah.
it's also segmented, right? Like
Yeah.
the days of Brad Pitt are kind of, I think, they'll always exist, but I guess
Yeah.
going away. And now it's like,
Mhm.
oh, I saw that person on YouTube, or I saw that person
Mhm.
online, or I saw that person on the Mayday Network, and people do approach you. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think part of the psychological, with part of the psychological part of it with parasocial relationships is, so back in the day with movie stars, you had television,
Mhm.
and movies, the big screen, the silver screen,
Right.
and then everything else was magazines. It was print media, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's funny because I feel like I know both of you. Like, oh yeah, it's like in the way of like we've met and had coffee together. We've literally never met ever in
Yeah.
person.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy that we've never actually met? Like
Never
I
met.
well, Michelle and I have met. Michelle and I don't live far from each other.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
know
We're
fine.
nades. We're
We're
nades.
neighbors.
Well, I
But
mean, you guys live in the same city, so you're probably 5 minutes walking distance from each other or something like that.
no,
I mean,
a little, like
A
probably a
little
mile.
bit longer than that, but certainly within walking distance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever.
but so I mean, and that's the thing is a lot of people that are watching this maybe on their phones, their commute to work, or maybe they're home, and it feels like we're all sitting around and having a conversation in a living room,
Yep.
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's normal to feel like, oh, I already know these people. So you approach them and you're like, hey, I've wanted to jump in these conversations you guys have been having for all this time.
You
And it's like,
should. You should.
yes,
Who want to do that should jump into the conversations, especially when we do these kind of lives. Michelle and I do. You should join us one day. Michelle and I have started doing these weekly AMAs on Substack, like Ask Me Anything.
nice.
And we have
Mhm.
like tons of people. We were on for like 2.5 hours last week.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
People just show up and we just
I would be so down for that. Like,
Let's do it. Well,
because I will answer, almost anything.
really? Well, what won't you answer?
I don't know. It would have to be, there's bound to be a question out there in the universe that someone would ask me and I'd be like, I'm not going to answer that. That was actually one thing I had to learn when I first got divorced and I started dating again, right? So like I was new. I think I was divorced like 3 months. And I said, okay, I'm gonna head back out in the dating market. And I felt like I had to. I think this is part of the condition of being divorced because every time you date, people always ask you, like, it's like this the second or third question is like, what happened? I mean, I'm removed from it. I'm removed from it by like 10 or 12 years now.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't ask that anymore. But when you're freshly divorced, it's like, well, what happened? And for women, it's usually was, did you cheat on her?
Right.
That
Did you do
that
something?
that is always the question of like, and so where I got to was I would basically just be super honest, like with about very personal things, and it would end up being like one date or maybe two, and I felt like, man, like I shared some very personal and vulnerable stuff with someone that now has that information,
Yeah.
and I'm not seeing them again, and I feel I honestly wasn't ready to share that, and so
Right.
it was funny. I talked to a friend of mine who was a communications professor, and I was talking about this, and I said, I'm not trying to hide anything, I'm not trying to lie, but I don't want to share this stuff, and she's like, well, that's called a boundary, Fred. Like
Yeah.
that's okay to have, right? It's
I think a therapist would have told you that before a communications professor would have told you
well,
that.
but, I mean, but you got to remember, I met my wife when I was 21 years old,
Oh,
and we
wow.
were married until I was with her for until I was 32, so like 11 years, right? Like you are talking about serious commitment dating, and then because I got all my wild phase like from like 18 to 21, like I like what guys do in a whole decade. I literally packed it into like 3 years, you
I
know.
packed it into my 30s. I never packed it into my teenage years or my 20s, but go ahead.
I know I packed it into 3 years where it was like, I'm going out 5 nights a week, and, I'm working and just raising all kinds of ruckus. And, it was like, I got to be 21. I said, Lord, I'm tired. I was like, I like her. I was like, let's see where this goes. It was like, I need to settle the hell down.
Wait,
funny.
you were with her when you were 21, but when did you get married?
I got married at, I was 24. So we were married about
Mm,
8 years.
Young.
But we were married
so
8 years.
young.
That's so young. Think about how much
So young.
changed between
Well,
24.
and then there was, there was a whole bunch of, and I've written about this. So it was like I was struggling with depression, anxiety, and complex PTSD, and I
Mm,
was trying to unpack all that. And while I was newly married, and dumping a lot of that emotional trauma on my wife at the time,
yeah, that's
and it
very
just,
hard.
a lot.
yeah, and so unfortunately, like what a lot of women, talk about today is she felt like my mother and my therapist and not a
Mm,
wife,
mhm.
and I didn't really understand, like, so that's why I say it's like I want a bad husband, but I want a good husband either, because I
Yeah.
was still healing and I didn't understand, like, and this is back in, good Lord, like '03.
Yeah.
So there's no resources out there like there is now. There's no social media. There's no
Right.
like
There's
I
no like therapy apps,
Yeah.
no,
you
hell
know.
no. And it's like in therapy, my household, and at that time, because I was raised in that conservative kind of toxic masculine environment, was like,
Mhm.
oh, just suck it the hell up,
Well, right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, we're not going to talk about it.
Mhm.
I don't need therapy. I'm fine. I think then we all get to a point in our lives, at least our generation or our generations,
Oh,
have realized that that's something that we all need. And it's
Yeah.
the oxygen mask thing, right? It's like we have to put the oxygen mask on ourselves before we can put it on somebody else. And, you know, I mean, I unfortunately had to have something really stressful going on in my life for me to finally giddy up and get a therapist during COVID, actually. I think it was like during 2021, and I've been with her ever since now, and it's like the best investment I've ever made into myself, you know?
Yeah, I did the same thing with luckily I had resources through the VA. So
Yeah.
it was about 2023 for me where I really got a consistent therapist.
Mhm.
And but I mean, and then the thing was, I was married. It's like I was doing things, like
Mhm.
I encouraged her to go to school and go get her master's degree. I was there
Right.
for when she was taking a state exam that it was really tough. She had to take it 4 times. I helped her study. I cleaned. She worked. I worked odd hours, and she, that was the other thing too. I was like, I worked night shifts. She worked days. You
that's a
know,
lot. Where were you living?
East Tennessee. You know,
Mm.
That's really tough because
Yeah,
there's
no, it was really tough, but I cleaned the house, I'd cook here and there, but the problem is like, I was going through that, you know, basically you'd have you're doing up, and then the person hits you and you're down, right?
Mhm.
And so then she's having to pick me up, and because I hadn't really worked out how to kind of help do that myself
Mhm.
yet, because I didn't understand what I was going through. And so now, where now it's just like, all right, I'm going through some things. I need to go get help, or I need to,
Yeah.
I've got things that I do now that help me sort of like, not necessarily mitigate, but like, that help me through those periods. Right. And I think that's always been kind of a problem with me in dating is, am I going to do that again? Right.
I don't think so because first of all, it's 20 years later, right? It's more than 20
Yeah.
Yeah.
years later. You're in a very different place in your life. You're
Yeah.
in a very different ethos in your life.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their ups and downs. I mean, listen, Michelle
Yeah.
was married, so we could just say like,
Hmm.
you know, sometimes I come home. Actually, I don't
Mhm.
come home because I work from home. So sometimes my husband,
Same. So
my hus-
sometimes there's days I don't leave.
yeah, sometimes my husband comes home and I'm just in a shitty mood. And a lot of times he comes home and he's just in a shitty mood. Nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything to
No,
do,
yeah.
he's a lawyer, like maybe some judge, nice emotion, whatever. Same with Michelle's husband. And with
Mm.
me, it's like, who the hell knows? And so, like, I think it's just how you work through those moments where
Mhm.
you're
Yep.
not necessarily in sync with each other. And,
Mhm.
you know, um, like my husband sent me a text yesterday out of nowhere. This is going to sound so sappy, but he was like, "I love you so much, like, thank God for you," and something along those lines. And I got this
Nice.
text and I texted him back and I said, "I love you too. Like, what brought this on?" And he said nothing. He didn't respond. He came home and I asked him again. And he said, "I was just thinking about you and just how great, how much I love you and how grateful I am for you." And like, I was having a really rough day yesterday. Just a lot of work got dumped on me. I was in a crappy mood. I kind of had a fight with my son on the way to school yesterday because he wasn't getting his shit together the way he should have. So I was like in a bad mood and he didn't even know that. And I got that text and it completely changed the dynamic for me. I was like, you kind of stop to think, you're like, I am so lucky to have somebody like this in my life. And so I think if you find the right person, I truly mean this, if you find the right person, like, whatever bad mood you're in, they could either alleviate it or they'll just leave you alone while you work through it, or
Yeah.
they'll work with you if that's what you need. But I think you were really young. I mean, 24 when you get
Oh
married.
my God. Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
I don't know,
But that
but
was
When
kind
I
of
was
normal.
24, I was like jumping on couches in Chelsea at like
yeah,
3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? Like I was like,
That was
yeah,
kind
I
of
was
normal in East
partying and
Tennessee, though.
bartending and auditioning, and like that's what my life was like. It
yeah.
was party
Most
time.
of most of the a good chunk of the women I went to high school with at that age had either 2 or 3 kids by that point.
I know. I think it's a cultural thing, and I'm
It is a
telling you,
cultural thing, yeah. So like, I told you, like, we joked around in the one line we had where it was, I think we talked about like the church culture in the South, right? I was the
Right,
guy.
right.
I mean, my wife was from Reading, Pennsylvania, right? So I
Mhm.
married a
no, I
Yankee.
know. I've been to Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so I married a Yankee, like, so because all the women that in the South were just like, that boy ain't no good. Like, he's gonna lead you down the path, lead you astray, right? Talking on that feminism and all this other stuff. Like, wait, no, it's like, so and I but the thing is like I got married, and she was one of the first people to like really be emotionally supportive, and then there was you know she was a great woman. Like, she was a great, and she's remarried.
Mm,
She's great.
good for her.
And
Yeah.
yeah, no, she came out of it all right, and but part of that is like, you know, I think the hard part of stepping out of that zone is like, when you heal, and especially from something like that, from trauma or from
Mhm.
depression, or you struggle with it because it pops up, because in the good moments you're like, and it's good, it's like, all right, I put that beast to bed, it's I'm done. But then it comes back.
Right.
And there's always a moment where it catches you, where you're, oh man, I didn't do this. It's like, here it is again. And so, part of it was, well, this is my issue to deal with. I don't want to put this on anyone else. And I've talked in therapy about it. It's like, well, that's not it, da 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 da. And so I said, well, all right, life's going okay. I got a little bit of energy. Let's try this dating app stuff. Let's just get in there, you know. And I said, I'm in Colorado. Let's put this twang to work now, you know. So
So
I get
any
on
less
Hinge. I get on Hinge, right? And you're going through all the little prompts, and you're answering the questions, and you putting up photos and everything. And um of course, though, it's laid out way different than it was back in the day, where it's like, all right, you get like, you want to pay $2 a month, get a little extra, blah blah blah.
Oh, isn't it expensive now?
Oh my God.
really?
I felt like I
what does
felt
it
like
get?
I felt like I was in Django Unchained, and I was talking to Leonardo DiCaprio as Calvin Candy, and Hinge was just like, they're showing me like these profiles of these amazing women, and I'm like, all right, one's in Irvine, Texas. I literally have it set to like 50 miles away. One's in
Oh, God.
Honolulu, Hawaii. One's in New York, right? And I'm like, oh,
How does
here's
that
sales.
You
work?
know what?
Well,
New
it's the sales
York,
pitch, right? It's like, here's these amazing women that are obviously getting a bunch of traffic,
Right.
right?
And that's why they're being
Right. And so it's
right.
like you get like they give you 5 likes, like you can do 5 likes on the photos. And then I get to, and I was like, well, all right, what are the prices? And I went, good Lord. I was like, $35 a week, you know.
wow.
I was at Hinge, and Hinge goes to me is like, you said you would be willing to pay an exorbitant amount of money for the right woman, and these women are indeed the right women. And I was like, damn, Hinge, just calm down. You know, that's my Calvin Candy, you know.
Well,
So
that's like, okay, so that's big tech trying to sell us an algorithm as well. And like,
yes.
so this is where, have you guys, I don't think you have, Julie, because I think you would have said something to me about it. But on Apple TV, there's a brand new movie out. It's called All of You.
Nope.
And it's
My
Brett
sister's
Goldstein.
watching that one. She's been
It's
raving about
yeah,
it.
it's a film, and it's set, I guess, sort of in the present, or maybe not too distant future. And it's about this, basically this company. It's kind of in the background. This company comes up with like the perfect scientific way to match two people in the world. It's not geographical. It's like, we're going to find your absolute match. And they do everything. Like, they take your blood pressure, like, a million things. And they find your match. And these people get matched. And then you spend apparently the rest of your life with them or whatever.
Nice.
And it's the thing that's like making everybody happy. It's making the world, whatever. And it's about these two best friends from college. And she gets in, he cares about her and pays for her to get this, the test done or whatever. And so she finds her match, and then, but he's so obviously in love with her. And so it's kind of about this, what's real? Is the people you meet in your life, is that real? Or the stuff that you are matched with scientifically or through technology, is that real? And like, what's the better match? And like, the story is really about unrequited,
Right.
love. And I'm like, listen, it was, at the end of the movie, I was like, I was a wreck, just crying my eyes out. But it is such a good movie. And Brett Goldstein is, I would watch anything that
So-
guy does. But
Here's my theory. My
Mhm.
theory is that it's totally cool to be by yourself. And
oh
not-
yeah, agree.
like legitimately, it's really until you feel that it's good to be by yourself, like you're not in a position to find somebody else, because if you're not cool with yourself, then you're not going to be cool with anybody else.
Yep.
Having said that, I also think that if you are meant to find that person, he or she will appear in your life. I know this sounds kind of karmic, like woo stuff.
No, and when you're ready too, it's like
You're ready.
your
Timing.
your light on top of the taxi goes up, and if
Yeah.
yours goes up at the same time, then it's good,
And timing is everything. You're right, because a lot of times people are not in the same
Oh yeah.
deserve
Listen.
each other. So I truly think, like, if that woman shows up one day on your doorstep or somewhere, like, you'll know it. And if she doesn't, then that's okay too. But I think she will. And whether it's through Hinge, or it's you meeting her in a bar, or it's you meeting her in a coffee shop, or it's a friend of a friend, or
Or a bar or karaoke,
like Michelle did, or I met my husband, I knew him years before anything romantic happened. We were friends for a long time, and then eventually, like, things just developed. But when I first met him, I first saw my husband when he was, and I remember this strangely. It's 2005. I was literally ordering, having a cigarette. That's how long ago this was. I was
Oh
smoking.
my God.
No, it's not gross. I used to smoke back then.
Ew.
I know, it's disgusting. I was
Wow.
literally, you're not going to get an argument from me. Gross. So I was literally, I think I quit smoking in 2005. So
How long? I'm sorry. We just need to take a second here. How long did you smoke for?
oh my God, my son better never hear this. I smoked
Like regularly, like every day?
like I literally would sit there like this. But if I was with you doing a show, and I'd be like doing this, oh yeah, it was gross. It was disgusting. 100%, Michelle. Like, but everybody my age did. Like, seriously, this is what we did in college. I know.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was the end of the smoking culture.
It was the end of the smoking culture. And you know why I
Yeah.
quit smoking? Seriously, I quit smoking because it occurred to me that if I did not quit smoking, I would never meet the guy I wanted to date because
That's
I
true.
thought smoking was so disgusting.
Yeah, I would never date a smoker.
That I
Like
was
a
like,
real
I will
smoker.
never, and I was like, I will never date a smoker. And meanwhile, I'm like, I would never date a smoker. And so, I was like, well, if
You're like Laura Carey Bradshaw with your
yeah, I
cigarette.
was totally, but I'm like that age, right? Like I'm the Sex and the
Yeah.
City age. So, I mean, a little younger, but not much.
Yeah.
And so I was Carrie Bradshaw.
Yeah. There's a difference between like being out at the bar and people go outside to have a
No, I was
cigarette.
more Carrie Bradshaw. Like
Yeah, because especially after they outlawed smoking in New York, which I think was around like 2002 or 3 or something like that. That was a way for people to go outside and talk.
Yeah.
Like if you were at the bar, it was like, hey, want to go outside? And
Yeah,
so, everybody would go outside. And so there's like that kind of smoker that's like not a real smoker. It's like, I want to walk outside smoker. But then there's the people who wake up in the morning and are like doing this.
Well, when I was in college, I would literally rollerblade everywhere in Boston, and I would throw on my rollerblades and put a cigarette in my mouth and rollerblade to class. It was gross. You're not going to get an argument from me. It's disgusting.
Well,
anyway.
I mean, there's gents have another take on that. So,
What's the quote from the Golden Girls? It's like finding out Lassie was an alcoholic. This is how I feel right now.
I wasn't
and then Rose
I wasn't putting like a
"Lassie was
needle
an
in my arm
alcoholic?"
every day. I was putting a cigarette. I get it.
Anyway,
It's gross. It's a disgusting thing. Anyway, back to my
listen.
story.
I mean, we had a different take on it. Let's just say that.
Say it. What's your take?
Oh, is it
going to be gross?
It's impolite. You know.
I know. Does it have to do
the saying was, if she'll put that in her mouth, what else will she put in there?
Yeah, I've never heard that saying.
What?
But
Really?
anyway, no.
That was the thinking. I mean, that was the thinking back when I was a young man. It's like, oh, she's a smoker. There we go.
Really? Okay.
Well, because again, this is like like the whole oral sex stuff, especially with women. That wasn't a guarantee back then. You still had women that were like, I don't
back
do that.
Back then.
Yeah.
That was cultural too. Is it a guarantee now?
Well, here's the thing that has shocked me, right?
Oh boy.
So this was shocked me is, so back when I was coming up and I was in my wild days, is
no pun
intended. Part of the allure was if you were one of the guys that was willing to go down on a woman, right?
Oh my God.
That tended to get around, and so it's like that upped your numbers, right? Because it's like women talk, and it's just like, oh yeah, Frederic, blah blah blah. So, it was a way to like, it was, and again, this is what I don't understand about these youngins, man. Is you give a woman an orgasm, the chances of her coming back are high or higher than they would be. And now you got these guys who are like, I don't do that. I don't care about like blah blah blah. It's like,
well,
really?
Here's the thing about the
man. Like how did that? And I look at these youngins listening to the manosphere types, and they're obviously guys who never dated, whose wives can't stand them or are on the verge of divorce, and they're parroting all this stuff, and it's like,
or like Nick Fuentes, who says it's gay to have sex with your wife.
Like I'm looking at it, it's like, why the hell would you ever take any dating advice from someone like Nick Fuentes, man? Like, it's like, do you want to die? Do you want to die alone?
He doesn't date. Nick Fuentes.
Well, I think he has some demons that he needs to.
Yeah, but Nick Fuentes doesn't date. Nick Fuentes says that he is a involuntary celibate who's voluntarily celibate. Like, I don't get it. He's an incel who's voluntarily.
This what kills me. It what kills me about these guys and these black pill and all that stuff.
Black pill.
Yeah. So there's red pill, and the black pill are the ones like Tyler Robinson that are just like, I hate life. Women, I'll never be a woman. So they call themselves black pill, and they literally go online
and they live in the depths. Yeah,
they live in that, and so like it's like, guys, you just have to be pleasant enough to be around, do a little bit of minimum grooming. I mean, honestly, the bar for men is so damn low. You might trip over it. You might trip over the thing. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that is that, in the manosphere, there's so much grievance and so much about women not giving them the time of day or this or that. And it's no wonder, because Gen X and millennials are the most educated, most financially independent group of women to ever exist.
Yes.
And so we have our pets, we have our houses, we have our homes, whatever, we have our jobs, we are independent, we don't need anybody. So if you are with a man, you want to be with them. You don't need to be with them,
The
because
value added is what you're saying. The
right,
men are value
because
added.
men up until
Yeah.
recently were used to a woman needing them for, for intimacy, whatever, kids, and for financial support. And women don't need that anymore. And so they are having to be forced to take care of themselves, to be emotionally well, to be kind, to be intellectually curious, culturally, open-minded. And a lot of men don't want to have to do this. And they're like, things used to be so much easier. All I had to do is go to work and come home and provide. And these are things. And so women are outpacing men in that way
Yeah.
now. And so they don't want to, it's almost like they don't want to be chosen. They want to be needed. And but trapped, like women were trapped in that need. And women aren't trapped like that anymore. And that's why so many of them want to go back to when we were.
But and here's the big problem with that is, I look at these guys and it's like, well, I want a woman to need me. It's like, yeah, but dude, you're not holding up what you should be. Like, we
No,
started this
we're-
conversation when, like, I wasn't a bad husband, but I wasn't a good husband either, right? So I
Right.
wasn't holding up my end of the bargain on that part. And I look at men, it's like, you guys, this thing that you're subscribing to is handicapping. It is stunting your growth as a person,
Yes.
as a human being, right? It's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
you
But you know what? It's also like to the point of being needed.
yeah,
Like I need my husband. I really do, but not for financial reasons and not to support me and not to pay the mortgage and not to,
Mhm.
get me a new car. I emotionally need my husband. Like I need him to be happy. And I think that's what these men are missing. Like just because you're not needed financially or you're not needed um to provide or whatever the old kind of paradigm used to be, it doesn't mean
Mhm.
that in the right relationship you still won't be needed. Of course you will be.
Right. Right. Well,
Not
and this is back when there was no fault divorce. You couldn't leave a marriage unless there was provable adultery or something like that. Women couldn't get credit cards or sign off on mortgages by themselves until like the late 70s.
70.
Uh, Marital rape was not illegal nationwide until 1993. So like this is why I keep saying, like, it's very recent that women have complete autonomy.
yep,
Which now again is backtracked in the last few years.
yeah,
Yeah, and oh, I'll tell you again, as somebody who dated until my late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm sorry, until my 40s. I wouldn't even say my late 30s. I dated until my 40s. I dated my share of really good guys, and I dated my share of not so good guys, but they weren't horrible guys, right? Like I never dated
Mhm.
a horrible, abusive, terrible person. I just,
Yeah, I got one of those. I
No,
got one of those.
I know. Well, that's not true. I dated somebody for a long time who, in retrospect, was very kind of emotionally abusive, but not in the sense that, like, or anything. So, what I would say is, like, having gone through it all, the only thing is, like, we have this paradigm we put men and women into where we're kind of circling each other and we're kind of constantly treating each other as an other, like a different species. And the reality is, like, if we just have conversations like this, like I've
Mhm.
always had a lot of guy
right.
friends, right? I never had a brother, but I had a lot of guy friends. I kind of understood how they thought. And like, why are we constantly putting men and women in these buckets where the men are always like, well, I would date, but there's women, all these women want to do is play the field. Nobody wants to settle down with me. They're looking for a rich guy. They're looking for Brad Pitt. They're looking for this, they're looking for that. And the women are like, oh, all the men suck. All they're looking for is the next supermodel. And the reality is, like, that's not what most people are
No, they're
looking
not.
for. I think they're just looking for somebody who's going to make them
Right,
happy.
yeah.
And
Everybody wants that. Happiness.
they're not.
No, I think everybody wants that. Happiness and intimacy. I believe that.
And listen, there are women who are out to marry for money.
Oh.
Like that is
Oh, yeah.
true. I see it.
In New
I
York,
see it.
sure.
But especially in New York, because you're dealing with like,
Well, it's
you
brutal
know,
to live
I'm
in.
going to
I
spend the
mean,
rest of my life with a multi-millionaire and have nannies and stuff. But these people, like, I see these women though, and they're very miserable
yeah. I mean, well, it's
in
because
the long term.
you know you get if you get into something for the wrong reasons, right? It's it's the old saying. It's like if you do something for money, you're going to earn it, like every penny. You know, and so yeah, no matter what it is, whether it's a job or whether it's marriage or whether it's something else, I mean, you're going to earn it. Now, one way or the other,
Yeah.
and it's or like I say there's a cost to everything. What do you want? What do you want to pay? You know, it's going to cost you time,
Yeah.
money, energy, and even lost opportunities, right? So, if you're dating for folks for the wrong reasons, or it's not a reason that you want, then you have lost opportunities to that time that you cannot get back. Seneca talks about this, right? Where there you go.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Wait, we go back. Seneca
It
talks
does.
about this.
Seneca
Okay,
said,
so
Oh, like the
yes,
philosopher?
the philosopher
Yes.
Seneca. Yes, he's not talking about
See, that's
Seneca.
so funny.
Seneca.
So, as the co-founder of the Seneca Project, people ask us sometimes, "What's Seneca? Is that the philosopher?"
no,
And
for
I'm
the
like,
Seneca project, that was the suffragette.
we are right. I was like, we're a
Yeah,
women's
because
organization.
it
I was
started
like,
in, I
we're
believe, Seneca
to Seneca
Falls.
Falls,
Right.
New York.
Yes.
But
Yes.
all those upstate New York places are always named after Greek and Roman places. Yep. Carthage,
Well,
New York. You've got
Cincinnati,
Syracuse, New
and-
York. Of
Well,
course.
yeah, those. But Seneca and
the
like that's
philosopher. Yeah, the
indigenous,
actual,
like
the
that's
Roman
Native
philosopher.
American. Seneca, Onondaga, Canandaigua, Skinny Atlas. Like there's indigenous tribes.
Oh, really? I thought Seneca Falls was named for Seneca the
Mhm.
Oh, it's not. Oh, it's
Because
not
all
named for the
because of
Seneca
me
the
kind of-
philosopher. That's
Oh,
fascinating. I
Mm-mm.
learn
okay.
something new
Well,
every day.
That is
Yeah.
so Seneca the
So
philosopher said,
Seneca, he talks about that we are willing to engage in frivolous wastes of our time, whether it's over a small amount of money or whether it's over pointless arguments. And you do this online, like it's like somebody posts on your social media feed, and it gets you're like, oh, and you're gonna go at them, and then before you know it, it's 2 responses, 3 responses, and 4 responses. And instead of understanding that you're giving up this resource that you can't ever get more of, which is your time. And so
Mhm.
it's understanding about what are you really trying to do when and a lot of these, I see this with a lot of like young men or just men in general, where it's like it's like, well, I want a woman to need me, and I want this, and I mean, this is, and it's their fault, and blah 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 blah. But what do you really want? Do you want love and intimacy? Because if you do, then this framework is causing you to miss out on that. And you are giving up by subscribing to this and by adhering to this outdated model that has never really worked anyway. You're giving of your time that you cannot get back because you're getting older every
Yeah.
second. So
Mhm.
you're going to pay that cost. You're going to pay with your time. So
Yeah.
instead of just saying, damn, man, this ain't worked, I got to try something different. So go try something different. Just give it up, man.
or you'll eventually meet some woman who wants to be in that situation.
Maybe.
And if that's what you really want, yeah, or if that's what you really want, then you're going to end up with a woman who wants that too. Like that part, I really believe. Like I truly think there is somebody for everybody in this world.
I know. I'm
People may
looking
disagree with
for.
me.
But I do feel like it's a choice. I mean, I really do think there's many people for everybody. I think it's just a matter of timing and who's the right person at that moment.
That's interesting, Michelle. Really? Because I
Mhm.
had a friend who got married, and he met his wife. He was divorced.
Mhm.
He met his wife, very similar to you, Frederic. He met his wife in college. They got married. They had a couple of kids. And then eventually she met somebody else and cheated on him, and they got divorced. He was very devastated. After a few years of playing the field, he went on Match, and he eventually got engaged to some other woman who he met. And I said to him, I was like, I'm so glad that you met this woman.
Mm.
And he said in a moment of total candor, and I'm not even friends with this guy anymore, and I wasn't particularly that close to him, but he said this to me, and I've never forgotten it. He goes, yeah, she's great. I love her. But the reality is I always keep thinking, so if I moved to Seattle or if I moved to, or I would have met somebody else on Match and that
Yeah.
person would have been great. And I think about that all the time because I disagree with that so profoundly. I thought that was such a sad statement. I don't think there's, a lot of people for everybody.
I don't think there's a lot, but I think there's at least a few. I mean, I think about all the things that led me to meet my husband, right? The things that I had to do, or the mistakes that I had to make. Had I not dated my really terrible boyfriend for a couple years, right? I never would have done this or that. I wouldn't have met my friend Bly. She wouldn't have set me up with her friend in DC. I wouldn't have been down there visiting them and run into Joe
Right.
at karaoke. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
all these things, and it's like I had to go through this really horrible thing. But what if I'd never done that? And it's like that sliding doors thing, right? I was like, maybe I'd be alone, or maybe I'd be with somebody else. I mean, I met someone when I was younger that, definitely stayed in touch with me for many, many, many years. And even after he got married, I would like still hear from him and all the time. And it was like,
I
you
hate
know,
that's such a classic guy thing, by the way. They get married and then they still text their ex, and it's like,
oh, yeah. And we never even really dated. And it
Right.
was like he, for whatever reason, for years and years and years and years, up until like maybe last year, would still like get texts, definitely during COVID. But it was always, again, it was one of those things that I was just like, you always have to wonder what if the timing had been better. Not to say that would have been a particularly great match. It might not have been, but I don't know if this person is particularly a faithful person, which would have been a real problem for me. But I just think about all the things, all the roads that lead to where who you end up with. And
so interesting that you say this. I believe with every fiber of my being that if I had not met my husband, I would never meet any. Like, I truly think there's
oh
just,
yeah, I'd be alone for sure.
for me personally, like there is nobody else. Like it's either him or bust. And I always kind of joke that if he dies before me, I'm jumping on the funeral pyre with him, like the way, like the way they used to, like these old like Indian. Remember, like in these, I think kind of 19th century, 18th
I love
ceremonies.
it. You know,
Yeah, like if the husband dies, they put the body in the pyre.
Yeah. Do
Well,
you
the
ever feel, sometimes I feel very unhinged. Like I'll just be sitting there with my husband, and all of a sudden I'll start thinking, and just tears start coming down my face, and he looks at me, he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "What if you die?" He's
my
like,
God,
"What's
I think that
wrong with
all
you?"
the
And I'm like,
time.
"What if you die?"
My husband keeps laughing at me. He's like, "Why are you constantly burying me?" Like that's all I think about. He's like, "Why are you constantly getting me?" He's like, "Why do you constantly think I wouldn't put in the grave?" My husband's also older than I am, so I could.
Oh, so that's makes a
Yeah,
little
these
bit more
kinds of things
sense
you
then.
do have to think about. But like,
good. No, go ahead.
yeah. Well, no, but the only thing I wanted to just put a pin on is I don't think there is anybody else for me. Like I maybe I'll be proven wrong one day if he does die before me, but I don't think so. I think for me, I am assuming that, it's many decades, hopefully down the road, like I'm moving to Italy, buying some house in some village and becoming that eccentric American old lady who's, no, doesn't speak the language. Everybody's like, there's the American in the village that bought that house that nobody wanted to buy. That's going to be me. I have it all
You're
mapped
gonna
out.
be like Under the Tuscan Sun lady.
But I'm going to be like in my 70s and 80s and
You'll meet a nice Italian man.
Like, I'm going to finally have that affair with a 25-year-old Italian guy. And I'll be like
Listen. Nicole Kidman's making a whole lot of movies about this lately, and
I'm
I
going
think that
to be
there's
living the
something
Kim
to this.
genre in my real life.
Right, your whole genre. But I mean, I dated somebody for a couple years who was legitimately the worst human being. I have managed to avoid this person for, gosh, I don't know how long, 15 years now. I almost run into this person, and I swear to God, if I did, I would just run out the door. Horrible person, addict, alcoholic, pathological liar, emotionally abusive, like just horrible person. Oh, and also cheated on me apparently constantly, and I had no idea. So anyways, after that, I was like, nope, never again. No, and also like never had money and was like stealing, and it's just whatever. It's a long story how I even got into this and why I stayed. But so when I met my husband, and I'd known him for a couple years before we started dating. And when I actually talked to him, I was like, "What do you do?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm an attorney." And I was like, "Oh, that's nice. That's like a real job. You have to like go to school for that, you know." And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Where'd you go to school?" He's like, "Vanderbilt." And I was like, "That's a good school. Okay, great." And I was like, and so we got talking about things, and I was like, "He's really nice. What a nice person. What a nice
Your
person
husband
who
is
has their life together." And like honestly, that's how that started because I was like, he's just such a nice person and he's fun to be around. And like that's
now.
and I don't know that I ever would have given somebody like my husband the time of day, not because he's not great, but because he's not a musician or he's not an actor or something. And those are the only people that I dated. And so have like, dating a muggle outside the business was a foreign concept to me.
Did you date the bad guy? Because this happened to me, right? I had this 4-year relationship with this guy who within 2 months I knew was
Mhm.
not the right guy.
Mhm.
So my whole thing is
Then we stay for another several years.
and I
Yeah.
stayed for almost another 4 years. And I kept justifying it and I kept being like, but I've
Mhm.
invested 6 months and now I've invested a year and now I've invested 2 years and now
Yep.
the best years of my life are gone because I've
Yep.
invested all this time in him. This is in my 20s. The best years of my life were not gone, but I didn't realize that.
Mhm.
And I spent from 25 to 29 with this guy. I mean, I spent
Mhm.
years with this guy. By the way, I'm still friendly with him. I run into him every so often. It's totally fine. And I have zero recollection of this 4-year relationship or really zero recollection of any feelings I might have had for him. But so which is why I'm able to be perfectly nice and polite to him when I run into him. But like to me it was an investment, right? Well, I've spent X amount of time, so I might as well see it through. Then I spent more time that I might as well see it through. That's
Mhm.
how women kind of justify staying in these bad relationships.
Yeah, I think it's the investment and then also just fear and then also self-esteem, like not
Totally.
thinking that I could do any better than this, which is like kind of sad. I mean, that's actually a lot sad. And this person was so troubled. And he had an ex-wife and kids who of course in the beginning should have known the way that he made her out to be a crazy person is usually not ever true. But you don't realize that at the time because I was young. I think I was like 26 or 27 at the time, and he was like 14 years older than me. So, and then I eventually set him up with a social worker at the Actors Fund. They have resources to help people out and stuff. And so I'd set him up with a social worker at the Actors Fund to help him with some of his substance abuse and like financial problems and things. And then she slept with him.
Wow.
What?
She slept with him.
What?
Yeah, because he was on tour with a
Wow.
Broadway show, and
Michelle.
she was living in LA at the time, and it was somebody I knew through other friends, and she was like the only person that I knew who worked at the Actors Fund. I had reached out to her to get help. And so she slept with him and they had a whole thing, and of course he lied to me about it, the whole thing, and I like found these photos on Facebook, and then I went and like he'd left this bag in my apartment. It had like her clothes in it, and I like found them. Oh, it was awful, awful. Um, and anyways, they got married and they have a kid now.
Whoa.
I guess she helped him.
Hmm. I
Like,
think they
Probably.
both share
Yeah.
some similar problems. Both share
wait,
some of the similar.
she was a social worker who's supposed to help him with the substance abuse problems.
That's one way to socialize them.
Wow.
I heard that she had like passed him off to another social worker so that there was a conflict of interest or whatever. But I wrote a strongly worded letter to the Actors Fund to
I
let them know
hope
what
so.
happened. But no one cared.
So
They
you
don't
Chuck
care.
Schumer
No
it.
one
Damn
cares.
it! I
There's
did
no like
politics
hashtag.
again.
This was 2011, 2012. It was a long time ago. But yeah,
Dear,
yeah.
Wow.
And like a pathological I mean, this was all part of this all kind of led to me leaving
I
the
could say
business
I'd be pretty dramatic.
because I found out that like, there was these like whopper stories just being completely made up about me because he needed to create another
No.
narrative to why he was behaving the way that he was. And of course, the same way that he did with his ex-wife, like I was the crazy person. I had these problems. I was this and I was, I'm suicidal. Like he would make up these stories. I mean, there's literally one of the Thanksgivings he was on tour. He called me on Thanksgiving. Get this. He calls me on Thanksgiving. I'm having Thanksgiving dinner with my family. And he's crying, being like, I'm going to kill myself or whatever. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, hold on. I run upstairs and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I'm going to kill myself. And he's having this whole like meltdown. He hangs up with me. I text the company manager of his show being like, listen, he's texting me a bunch of this crazy stuff. I don't know what to do. I'm not with him. You're on the tour with him right now. So can you help? Whatever. And she's like, yeah, of course. Like I'll check on him. I find out that he was at a bar with her, this company manager. He'd run to the bathroom just to mess with me or
Did
just
he
be
did
like
he
a crazy
sleep?
abusive
Did he
person
sleep with the
and like
company
try to
manager?
ruin my day.
Wow.
Maybe, I don't know. But then apparently went back out to the bar, and she's like, I just got this text from Michelle. Like, what's this about? And he was like, I don't know. She's psycho. She's just making that up. Oh yeah. Like this is the kind of stuff. And it got to a point where like I was being gaslit to the point I was like, I didn't know what was up, what was down. The whole thing was so awful. Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wow. Well, I've never had.
Oh, it's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy experience, crazy story. This person has 2 children from a previous marriage he doesn't see. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
he's a
know
real piece of shit. So anyways, I say all that to say when I met my husband, who was like a normal person and kind and never raised his voice, and like I was like, it endeared me to him like immediately. And I don't know that I would have been interested in somebody like that had I not been through
So
what I'd been through.
a couple of quotes that I know Julie will love. So about your husband dying, Seneca says we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality, and we should firmly stay in the present, especially over things we can't control. So while
Mm.
you're worrying about your husband dying, you're actually missing time that you could spend with him right now and worrying about an event you can't control. I do like the fact that you would jump on the fire like a proud Viking or woman, which is awesome. Make sure you do that. In fact,
Right.
that's going to be in any prenuptial agreement or wedding vows that I take is like, I want a funeral pyre, and her jumping on it
You're the
is
mother of
optional.
dragons. I'll just walk out of there all singed with my clothes off,
There you go.
holding
That's
some
it.
eggs. But go ahead.
And then for Michelle, I got a Marcus Aurelius quote where
Oh wow. Okay.
the
I'm ready.
obstacle becomes the way, right?
Mm.
So this thing so what happens is when the obstacle is put in your path and you're going, this is part of that sunk cost fallacy, and this is how you get out of it. It is, to your point where it was, I've invested all this time, I want this to work, and blah, 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 and it's just not working. But instead of trying to beat through the obstacle, you realize that the obstacle is part of the path because it's put you on where you're heading to where you're going to go. And where you went was you ended up with your husband.
I was forced to break the cycle.
Yes, thus the obstacle becomes the way, right?
I like that. That's
So,
profound.
yes, it's profound. I
I
like
got
your
some of
stuff.
this stuff. I break it out every
Listen,
once in a while.
and on the topic of Seneca, just because I need to get this out too. So there's Seneca Falls, right?
Yes.
Which is named with Seneca Falls is the name of the place where the women's rights movement began. Okay, but the Seneca are an Iroquoian speaking indigenous people known as the quote keepers of the Western Door because they were the westernmost nation in the Iroquois Confederacy of New York.
Wow.
Historically, they lived in longhouses in the Finger Lakes and Genesee Valley regions of New York, farming the Three Sisters, corn, beans, and squash. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Seneca tribes in the U.S. Seneca Nation of New York, Tonawanda Seneca Nation, and Seneca Cayuga Nation in Oklahoma, with significant populations also in Canada on the 6 nations of the Grand River Territory. So now you know.
Nice.
But you just underscored what we had before, which is that all men, for some reason, are obsessed with the Roman Empire.
Well, listen,
So it's kind of basic of you.
Whoa. It's like, first of all, I want to, like, they're posers, okay? They think that they're obsessed with they're not. They haven't read Livy. They haven't read Caesar's commentaries on Gaul. They didn't take Latin in high school. No. Like, no. They, I mean, come on. It's not even close. Can they speak to the reserve strategy that ultimately worked to defend the empire during the Pax Romana, but then failed when the Visigoths and everyone attacked the Western Empire? No.
clearly, we should end every show with Carthago delenda est or Maga delenda est. Or
Yes, we should. You know,
Maga delenda est. And on that note, you guys, because we're coming up on an hour, I think we have a couple of announcements we want to make.
yes.
Yep.
One is if you want to join her therapy session every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, please do. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Write us your thoughts, your dreams, your complaints. We will take them all under advisement and put them into the question of what would Caesar have done in Gaul? And the answer is Frederic will tell us.
Yep.
See, when you say these things, it makes me feel not smart because I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's okay. Neither does Frederic. He's just trying to sound smart.
I'm like, I feel like I should know these things, but there's only so many hours in the day that I can learn stuff. And I just don't know if I have time
Michelle,
to learn.
you need to live by the credo because anybody
I don't know what that means.
You need to live by the belief and the mantra
Okay.
Carthago delenda est. Because there was a Roman senator who the Romans were fighting with Carthage, which was their mortal enemy. Carthage is where Libya is today.
Where Tom Holman is from. Yes. Keep going.
Yes, where Tom Holman is from. Not upstate Carthage.
West Carthage.
West Carthage. Well, West Carthage is probably
Village Cop. Yes.
But real Carthage is where Libya is today. And
Right.
the Romans were in this war for a long time with Carthage.
Multiple
First
ones.
Carthaginian war.
The
second Carthage war.
wars. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, of course. But then was it Cicero or who said Carthago?
I think it was Cato the elder.
Cato the elder.
Yeah.
Cato the elder. There was a senator named Cato in the Roman Cato Calin, but this one was spelled with a C. And Cato he was this very powerful senator, and he would end every speech, no matter what it was on. It could have been on the rain, it could have been on your ex-boyfriend, it could have been on this amazing podcast we're doing, but he would end every speech with the phrase in Latin, Carthago delenda est, which means Carthage must be destroyed. And if you're in politics, like you think about that every day, you're like, whatever else is happening, Carthago Maga delenda est.
Okay, so MAGA would be Carthage in this
every
scenario.
You know what?
Whatever you do,
you've just given me something, Julie, and like that is. I think that is where I'll know that I've found my match. Is if like I can do the whole forearm handshake with a woman and be Carthago delenda est, and she returns it to me, and then it's like we just give each other a nod. There it is. Like that's it.
Wow.
See,
that girl's out there. She's out there. She's probably some classic studies person and some, a University of Colorado. You should probably just go.
She's at the Renaissance Fair. She's eating a turkey leg.
You know what? And I will say this to Julie. She is right, for these people that talk about philosophy just to sound smart instead of living that. Epictetus wrote about that very thing.
Oh God.
All right. Anyway,
I took AP European history in high school,
yes.
and I don't remember a goddamn.
You know what? I took AP American history in high school.
So did I. Yeah.
I wrote my entire AP history essay on something to do with the Bank of America and Andrew Jackson.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anything.
I took all kinds of AP. No clue.
Got me credits in college, which was good, but I got nothing for you. So anyway, but I do remember Carthago delenda est because I think about people I don't like in my life, and I kind of live by that credo of they delenda est they must be. So anyway, come join us every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern or whatever time it is in your neck of the woods. We'll be dropping this podcast. You could listen to it live. You can listen to it not live. You can listen to it in the car. You can listen to it at the funeral pyre, wherever you want to listen to it. Then the big news.
Just don't listen to it in Carthage. So
just don't listen to it in Carthage because delenda est.
And Tom Holman might.
And Tom Holman might be there. Yes. Also, yeah. Then every Monday, and we have talked about this, starting next Monday, And you guys know you might have the day off because it's Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day / whatever day you might think it is. You might be home, you might not be home. Wherever you are, tune into the Mayday Morning Show. The three of us are launching a morning show. I promise on all that is holy, it is not going to both sides the shit out of every issue.
No.
It is not going to refer
Really any issue.
It is not ever going to refer to Ghislaine Maxwell as the one-time employee and friend of Jeffrey Epstein, which is what the New York Times referred to her as in a sub-headline today, as opposed to referring to her as a sex trafficker.
This is why we do. This is why we have Touch Grass, is because of this.
This is why we have Touch Grass, because the paper record refers to her as a former employee and friend of Jeffrey Epstein. Anyway, it took them to like the 6th or 7th paragraph to mention that she also.
I honestly, I don't.
Yes, I know. So this is why we have Touch Grass. So we're not getting into that here, but we will say this: we are doing a no bullshit morning show every morning. We're gonna have awesome guests who have awesome outside the box ideas. We have a bunch lined up for next week already who are just fantastic. And we'll make some news, hopefully, with those guests. But this is a show for everybody who is just sick of how corporate media is treating this moment in time. And we're not going to do that. Like, we're just not going to have people on the show ever who are going to say the earth is flat when we all acknowledge that the earth is round. We could have debate. We're just not going to debate shit that is established fact. So on that note, please join us 8 a.m. Eastern. Again, if you're on the West Coast, you don't feel like getting up at 5 a.m., that's okay. It's on YouTube, so you could just click on it whenever you wake up and want to watch it. Or if you're driving in the car, it'll be on all your favorite podcasts, whether, stations,
Apple and Spotify.
Spotify. You can find us there, and give us a follow, please, because the more people.
Yes, like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe. And the three of us will see you on Monday morning, and we will see you next Wednesday for another episode of Touch Grass. And we are so incredibly grateful to this incredible audience and community that we've built. Cartago delenda est, and we will see you soon. Bye, everybody.
You are listening to the Mayday Network.